Good morning and welcome to Thursday morning Bible study. Hope you guys are doing well and that you're having a good day and just able to take a breath this morning or this afternoon or evening or whenever you are watching this and just be in God's presence. This is what we're going to do for the next 30 minutes. If you're watching this on Facebook or on wherever else you find this on the internet, just to be able to spend some time with the Lord, come to the well, come to the place of living waters, and that's Jesus Christ himself. So my name is Jordan Wong. For those of you I don't know, pastor at Alameda Neighborhood Church in San Jose, California, and we put these Bible studies out for anybody that wants them. So you can share this on your Facebook page or with other folks, and we'll get into it. So let me pray for us. We'll do some God sightings, and we'll study some scripture. Let's go. Lord God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your presence. I pray, God, for all those that are tuning in, listening to this, participating, God, that we would come to you as the living water, that we would find our source of life and hope in you, and that we'd be able to share that living water to others. We pray this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. Well, it's good seeing some of you guys already in there in the chat. I see Pat and Allison and Sep and Nancy and Martha and Lou. So welcome to you all and others as well. We always start off with God sightings. What are ways that you have seen the presence of God in your life over the last couple of days? It's easy to pay attention to what's not going well or to our own flesh and our own desires and our own issues. But how can we see that God is at work in big ways and in small ways? So for me, there's been lots of different things. One of them is I've been kind of launching this vision for our church for the next couple of months to focus on prayer and being together to find ways to connect with each other. So what I've found is that in casting that vision, it's been encouraging to meet. I kind of always joke that I feel like God made me a pastor for me, because when I start to preach, when I start to cast vision and counsel and do all those things, I actually realize it's the message for me. And even in preparing for the sermon this week, I'm speaking on Revelation and talking about the Antichrist and the mark of the beast, which you may think like, oh man, that sounds terrible. But actually, I'm having a lot of fun prepping this message because, without giving everything away I'm going to talk about on Sunday, it's just really seeing how good Jesus is. That he is the way, the truth is the light, in the life. We don't have to worry about being deceived if we keep our eyes on him. And there's so many people that worry about, the mark of the beast in Revelation, and they kind of think that the book of Revelation, that the star of it is Satan or the Antichrist, and the big event is, is the tribulation and people getting the mark and all that kind of stuff. But you know what? That's not the focus of the book of Revelation. It's not the focus of the Bible. It's not the focus of the world. The focus of the world is Jesus, not the Antichrist, the actual Christ. And it's not, we don't have to worry about getting the mark of the beast. Instead, we want to receive the mark of the Lamb. I'm preaching. I got to save it. But I'm excited about that. So that's what my God sighting is joy of sermon prep and vision casting and God speaking to me through it. So more to come on that. Don't miss our worship on Sunday morning. If you're able to watch it with other people, fire up your computer screen or watch it on TV outside, or join us. We're having folks to be able to gather outside, socially distant, Sunday morning, 10 a.m. at church. All that's coming up. So it's good to be with you. Let's get into the Word. Great seeing some of your God sightings today. Love seeing Pat sharing that today would have been Ron's 80th birthday. Wow, amazing! Praise God. Good to have all of you with us, and we celebrate what God is doing. Les Anderson, good to see you today. Thanks for the picture you sent to me. I'm rocking my Spider-Man shirt in honor of what you sent me last week. So, all right, here we go. We are in John chapter 4. And that's where we are. This is famous encounter with the woman at the well. And there's 42 verses in this section of scripture. I'm not sure we're going to make it all the way through. We're going to do our best, but we're not in a rush, so we might do part of it today and finish it up again on Tuesday. So let's jump in. John chapter 4, verses 1 through 3 says this. Now Jesus learned that the Pharisees had heard that he was gaining and baptizing more disciples than John, although in fact it was not Jesus who baptized, but his disciples. So he left Judea and went back once more to Galilee. Okay, so here we have Jesus. If you remember what was going on, right before this is John's disciples were saying, "Hey, here's this guy who's baptizing," and John's like, "Yeah, that's the whole point. Like, I came here to pave the way for him. I'm not competing with him." So here we kind of have this going on, and there's this tension that's beginning to build. So we saw earlier in John chapter 3 where the Pharisees are unsure about Jesus, and Nicodemus, one of the Pharisees, comes to Jesus at night, and he's like, "All right, give me the truth. What's really going on? Who are you really?" And Jesus says, "Yeah, for you to understand, you need to be born again." And Nicodemus is like, "I have to crawl inside my mother's womb? That's disgusting." Jesus says, "No, that there's a new birth that comes in Jesus Christ, that comes in me. There's a new birth. There's new life." And so this is kind of throwing everything off for the religious people, and then even the people that were getting ready for Jesus, John's followers, they're kind of in turmoil too. So there's kind of this mounting tension. And it's not time. Jesus knows he's just starting his ministry. Now is not the time for all the tension to mount. It's going to come back. They'll be able to have the Passover celebration later, and that's going to be the time where Jesus knows it will be his time to be glorified, which means he's going to die and be resurrected. But check this out. As you look at this, it says, so he was down there, he left Judea, and went back once more to Galilee. Now, we read passages of scripture like this and be like, all right, whatever. So he left one neighborhood and went to another neighborhood. Like, that's fine, whatever. But since we're kind of going through this Bible study, I want to give you a little insight to the geography of what's going on. So let me put this in here. We've got a little map here that kind of shows what's happening. And let's just pay attention and track where Jesus is going. So here we see, I'm going to try to weather map it here. Oh, yeah. Good. Here we go. We have a cold front moving in over here. No, not really. Okay. So down here, you can see where it says Judea. I don't think I can overlap. I can't. I need a green screen. So down here in the bottom, it says Judea. And so where the Gospel of John opens up, it opens up with John baptizing people on the other side of the Jordan. So here, if we see over on, if you're looking at this on the the east side of the Jordan River. And for those of you that have traveled in Israel and in Jordan, you can go to the spot in the Jordan River where we believe Jesus was baptized. So it's down there in the bottom. That's what's happening. Jesus is baptized down there. Now, it says that he starts to get his disciples and he starts to call out, some of the people down there, Peter and Andrew and those guys. And even down there, people say, well, who is this guy? It says, oh, this is Jesus of Nazareth from way up there. And the guy Nathaniel says, Nazareth, can anything good come from Nazareth? Like, that's out in the sticks. That's way out there. No, that's can't come from there. But he starts to gather his disciples. And then it says there in the end of John chapter 1 that Jesus now decides to leave Jerusalem and head up towards Galilee. So again, just understanding Jerusalem is the center of Jewish life. That's where the temple is. That's where you have to go every time there's a festival, every time you want to make a sacrifice. Like, that's the place. That's the capital, Jerusalem. But Jews are spread out all throughout. And so we have Judea, Samaria, Galilee. The farther you get out, kind of the more country it gets. Galilee is the fishermen, and that's the agriculture and all that kind of stuff up there. Jerusalem is the city. So Jesus says, I'm going to go up to Galilee. So he goes up to Galilee, And then do you see up there, it says Cana. Anyone remember what happened in Cana? Talked about a couple weeks ago. Cana was the wedding. That's the wedding where Jesus's mom is there, and Jesus gets to be the +1, but he brings his other. He's like +12. Brings everybody with him, and he does this first miracle. He makes water into wine. Now again, pay attention. This is out in the boonies. This is out in Galilee where he does that. So he has the wedding in Cana. That happens. Now in John chapter 2, he stays there for a few days, and then it's time for Passover, the celebration of the feast. So he goes all the way back down. So you see how much Jesus is traveling already in the first, few chapters. He's going up and back between Jerusalem and Galilee, between Judea and Galilee. So it's important for you to pay attention to know where Jesus is at, because when he's in Jerusalem, when he's in Judea, all the Pharisees and all the religious leaders, they're all watching him. And that's where all the prophecies say anything big that's going to happen is going to happen in Jerusalem. So they're paying attention there. And then when Jesus is up in Galilee, he's kind of more with the people. He's out there in the country, and so it's a little bit different. So it matters where these things are happening. So here in chapter 3, Jesus is now back in Jerusalem. That's when he flips the tables over. That's when Nicodemus comes to him at night. That's all down there in Jerusalem. And then now, at the end of this, at the beginning of chapter 4, what we just read, it said, all right, there's too much happening down here in Jerusalem, so he left Judea and went back once more to Galilee. Okay, so just tracking, we start in Judea, we go to Galilee, we go back to Judea, now we're coming back to Galilee. Now, do you notice, we keep saying like Judea and Galilee, Jerusalem and Galilee, there's a spot in the middle there. There's this place in the middle called Samaria. Now, nothing happens in Samaria for the most part in these stories, because it's the in-between place. It's the place where you have to pass through, but where nobody wants to go. No good Jewish person, at least, wants to go. You kind of have to go through it on the way to the place where you're going, but it's not a destination. It's a passing through. It's at the very best, it's a truck stop for them. Why? Because the Jewish people would consider Samaritans not one of them. They were considered in negative terms. They were referred to as half-breeds. Because way back in the days there was exile and there was separation and then returning back, and the Samaritans say, hey, we're followers of Yahweh, we're followers of God, and the Jews are like, no, you weren't born into us, you don't have our same heritage as we do, but they say no, we really do, but they consider them not the same. And so it's actually interesting that in some ways the Jews looked at the Samaritans in more disgust and disdain than they did the Romans or the Greeks or other people that were completely different. It's like, all right, if you're different than us, that's fine. But if you're saying you're kind of like us, get away from us. And so there were disputes among them. And so Samaritans were looked upon very lowly. And so here we have, it's a passing through spot. We're just going back and forth and back and forth. And here we have the spot right here where now John chapter 4, Jesus actually stops here in Samaria. John 4 verse 4. Now he had to go through Samaria. So he came to a town in Samaria called Sychar, near the plot of ground Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired as he was from the journey, sat down by the well. It was about noon. Okay, so here we are. They're passing through. They're tired. It's the truck stop. It's the pit stop. And Jesus sits down by the well. It's noon. Now, it's important to know in these days what the well signified to people. One, it was the gathering point of the people. It's everybody needed to get water. So at some point in the day, people would come to the well to be able to get what they need for the day for their family. But then also it's a time to discuss and kind of see each other. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't get to see my neighbors a whole lot. And one time where I do see them often is taking out the garbage cans. Just, Thursday nights or Friday mornings when we're bringing them in, going out to the curb, people go outside, and not long discussions, but at least like, hey, how you doing? When there's a shared need, it's when we see one another. And so this was the watering hole, that they would come to the well. The well also signified their history, because wells there were historically someone that an ancestor, someone that founded that town, somebody of importance that had that. And this one is Jacob, from the Bible. This is Jacob dug that well, and so it had significance not just of being water, but culturally and historically. It had this significance as well. Here we have this this spot, and so Jesus comes in, he sits down by the well, and it's about noon, so it's the middle of the day. So usually this is not the time to go to the well. It's the hottest part of the day. And actually, like, it's a little interesting for me being in California, because I'm used to also on the East Coast, like the hottest part of the day is noon. Out here, it's like not really. It's like 3 o'clock. I feel like it gets hotter in the afternoon in Northern California. But those are the times where like, hey, it's going to be too hot. And in other places in the world, whether it's when I've been to Mexico or the Middle East, there are certain times of the day where nobody goes out. That's siesta time. In Spanish, it's like, hey, this is the time to take a break. In this era, noon is the time where you take a break. It's not the time to go to the well. It's too hot. It's not the time to hang out. But that's when Jesus goes to the well. Verse 7. When a Samaritan woman came to draw water, Jesus said to her, "Will you give me a drink?" So Jesus is there hanging out by the well by himself. And to be able to get from the well, there's something, a bucket, or there's something to be able to dip down, but you also need something to be able to receive that water, which Jesus might not have had at the time. But here comes this woman, and he speaks to her, "Will you give me something to drink?" And the Samaritan woman said to him, "You are a Jew, and I am a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me for a drink? For Jews do not associate with Samaritans." So here we have this woman, and says, "What? Why are you talking to me? You are supposed to just be passing through. You do your thing, and I do my thing, and you stay away from me. Because I know that Jewish people think very lowly of us as Samaritans, and also men think lowly of us as women. So I don't know what you're doing. I don't know, what game you're playing, but I don't want any part of this. How can you ask me for a drink?" Because here Jesus is breaking all the social norms. This is not the person he's supposed to be talking to. He's because of gender and because of culture. You stay away. Let him do his own thing. He also, maybe she could see that he had followers and that he's a rabbi. He has some kind of status here, and she doesn't. And says, "How can you ask me for a drink?" But this is amazing. This is Jesus, and Jesus sees this woman. He doesn't just see her as the demographic. He doesn't just see her as this is a minority, enemy of our people woman. He sees her as a human being, sees her as somebody that is loved and cared for by the Father. He sees her. And he says this in verse 10. Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God, and who it is that asked you for a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." So Jesus is saying, hey, I'm coming here, and you're coming here to the well. You're coming here to receive water. And he's telling her, I am the well. I have living water. I have something to be able to give to you for your life. And the woman responds, "Sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where can you get this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us the well and drank from it himself, as also did his sons and his flocks and his herds?" And so It's the woman saying, hey, what do you mean you're going to give me living water? Like, you just asked me for a drink, and now you're going to tell me you got something for me? You don't have nothing for me. You don't have any way to get the water. And you're going to, what, are you going to dig a new well? Are you greater than our father Jacob? So she's calling out the differences. Because the Samaritans, they claim that they are descendants of Jacob, but of course, so do the people of Israel. That's Jacob, Israel. And so she's saying, hey, this is our father. This is, our people, and you're different than us. She's calling out the differences. Are you trying to say you're greater? She's making it a competition between people. And honestly, friends, this is kind of what our world is becoming more and more right now. It's drawing the lines. It's us versus them. This is this kind of person, and then we're this kind of person. Oh, you believe in this? Well, I don't believe in this, and so you're different than me. And if you don't believe the same way that I believe, then you're an idiot, and you don't understand this. And I'm gonna, yell at you on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram and block you and say terrible things, and we just go back and forth, and we hear somebody who has a different opinion than us, and we just kind of getting all upset. And there's such a polarization in our society right now, and it just kind of putting everything up, even on small things now. We can't disagree. We can't just say, hey, I have a different opinion, I have a different thought. Like, everything just, it's really amped up. And that's what this woman is doing, is saying, hey, wait a minute, these are the lines. You are an other. You are not me. You are different. You have different thoughts, different opinions, different culture, different mindset than me. And so just kind of stay away. And yet Jesus doesn't view people by those lines. He sees her. He sees her as she is. And he says to her, hey, I've got something more. I'm not trying to compete with Jacob. I'm not trying to draw lines between Jews and Samaritans. I'm telling you, everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again. But whoever drinks the water I give him will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give him will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life. And so here Jesus is using universal terms. Everyone who drinks this water, anybody, doesn't matter if you're Samaritan, a Samaritan. I'm creating my own race here. It doesn't matter if you're a Samaritan or a Jew or you're Chinese, you're American, you're Jamaican, you're Mexican, whoever. If you drink water from this well, you're going to become thirsty again. But anybody, no matter your nationality, no matter your race, no matter your political party, no matter your stance on any of the issues, anyone who drinks the water I will give them will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give them will become in them a spring of water welling up to eternal life. That's the hope. That's the what crosses the boundaries is Jesus saying, if you come to me and receive this water that I give you, it will become in you a spring of water welling up to eternal life. No matter who you are, no matter your background, no matter your gender, no matter your socioeconomic status, receive this water. And this woman says, all right, let's do it. Sir, give me this water so that I won't get thirsty and have to keep coming here to draw the water. He says, okay. And she's, it's kind of unclear whether she understands what Jesus is saying here, that this water is this eternal life that Jesus Christ is giving her, and not actual tangible water. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't, but it kind of sounds like she's like, hey, give me water I can drink and not be physically thirsty again. But Jesus goes deep. He could have just said, okay, let's go, but he sees her. And so he goes universal, says, hey, this is for everybody, but it's also personal. It's not just, we're not just kind of whitewashing everything and saying everybody's the same. It's like, you have your own story. You are your own person. I know who you are. And he calls out some really deep personal stuff in her. He says to her, go, call your husband and come back. Go, call your husband and come back. Which seems like a normal thing to say. Like, all right, I'm going to give this to you, but I'm going to give it to your family and bring your husband with you. Let me give this to you as a family, as a couple. But she says, I have no husband, she replied. Jesus said to her, "You are right when you say you have no husband. The fact is you have had 5 husbands, and the man you now have is not your husband. What you've said is quite true." So Jesus calls out, this is stuff that only he could know. Be revealed to him from the Father. This is a prophetic word that God gives to him, insight that God gives to him about this woman, because there's no way he could have known this. Like, he just got to town. He doesn't know her. He doesn't know this town. As far as we know, she's the first person that he met. Nobody said, "Hey, this is the woman that has all these husbands." But Jesus knows it, and he calls it out, and he reveals here some, but we still don't know the full story, where it says you have had 5 husbands. What does that mean? Does that mean that she was married and then all of her husbands died? Does that mean that she was married and all of her husbands divorced her and left her? We don't know. Either way, this is very painful. It's very painful for her, whether it is that she's gone through that many losses of husbands that have died, or whether she's gone through that much rejection of men that have left her. And the man you now have is not your husband. So maybe she's betrothed to somebody else. Maybe there's something else going on here. Either way, this would not be something that would give her status in her community. And it kind of explains maybe why she's drawing water in the middle of the day when nobody else is there. Perhaps to show up in the morning or in the evening when all the other ladies are at the well is just a great source of shame. When they're talking about their relationships and their husbands and their children and all of that stuff, and she just has all of this pain. And Jesus says, what you have said is quite true. So Jesus calls it out where she's trying to call the differences between them. She's saying, hey, I'm the living water for everyone, but I also know you personally. And this is the truth. This is what Jesus is so amazing, that where he transcends, where he's universal, but he's personal. And so today, you need to hear this, that Jesus is the God of all. And when you're wrestling, when you're struggling with people and saying, this person on this side and this person on that side and what they're doing, and I can't believe this person's wearing a mask, I can't believe the person's not wearing a mask, I can't believe this person's voting this way and this person's doing this, and we get all this upset. Jesus loves everyone. Doesn't love everything that everyone is doing, doesn't approve of it. There is evil, there is wrong, there are right and wrongs, but Jesus loves and cares for each and every person, and he gave his life for them. He was moved to compassion for every single person and gave his life. And gave his life so that they might have living water, so that we might all have living water. So not only can we be able to receive that, not only is that water given to us for all people, but it's individual. He knows us. He knows this woman's story. And he loves her anyway. He comes to her anyway. Verse 19 says this, "Sir, I can see that you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, but you Jews claim that the place where we must worship is Jerusalem." So here's the woman again. She's trying to move it back into the differences. Like, she's trying to talk religion. It's like, okay, you're a prophet, but we Samaritans, we worship here, and you want to go back down to Jerusalem. You say we have to worship there. So which is it? Solve the religious debate. And Jesus says, "Believe me, woman, a time is coming when you will worship the Father, neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You Samaritans worship what you do not know. We worship what we do know. For salvation is from the Jews. Yet a time is coming and has now come when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth, for they are the kind of worshipers the Father seeks. God is spirit, and his worshipers must worship in spirit and in truth." So Jesus is masterful here. Instead of getting drawn into the debate of saying, hey, is it supposed to be this mountain or that mountain? Actually, he says, well, you guys, you're wrong. But I'm not going to sit here to prove to you that you're wrong, because really what matters isn't the mountain, isn't which is the correct holy site.